Yasodanandana Bhaja Janarandana Yasodanandana Bhaja Janarandana Namanatira Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-lila, chapter 4, text 1. Madhya-lila, chapter 4, text 1. Did I say that correctly? Yeah. Fantastic. So, Jasmai datum chorayan shirabandam Gopinatha shira chora bidhobut Sri Gopala pradushadid vashasam Yat premnatam madhavendram natoshmi Yasmai datum chorayan shirabandam Gopinatha shira chora bidhobut Jasmai, unto whom? Datum, to deliver. Chorayan, stealing. Shirabandam, the pot of sweet rice. Gopinatha, Gopinath. Shirakora, stealer of a pot of sweet rice. Abhida, celebrated. Abhut, became. Sri Gopala, Sri Gopal, deity. Pradhu Asit, appeared. Vashaha, captivated. San, being. Yat Premna, by his love. Tam, unto him. Madhavendram, Madhavendra Puri, who was in the Madhva Sampradaya. Nata Asmi, I offer my respectful obeisances. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Madhavendra Puri, who was given a pot of sweet rice stolen by Sri Gopinath, celebrated thereafter as Shirakora. Being pleased by Madhavendra Puri's love, Sri Gopal, the deity at Govardhan, appeared to the public vision. Purport. Bhaktivinoda Thakur annotates that this Gopal deity was originally installed by Vajra, the grandson of Krishna. Madhavendra Puri rediscovered Gopal and established him on top of Govardhan Hill. This Gopal deity is still situated at Naftwar and is under the management of descendants of Vallabha Acharya. The worship of the deity is very luxurious, and one who goes there can purchase varieties of prasad by paying a small price. Omagana Timanandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master has very kindly come, forced open my eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I offer my most respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate garim yat kripa tamaham vande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master, the saviour of all fallen souls. By his grace, even a lame man can cross over mountains, a blind man can see stars in the sky, and a dumb man can recite eloquent Vedic poetry. So today is the auspicious appearance day of Disappearance day of Sri Madhavendra Puri Goswami. So in the ecstatic lead up to our Gaur Purnima celebrations on Tuesday, it's appropriate that we speak something about his glories. And Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has devoted a whole chapter, wonderful chapter. This is in the Madhya-lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the entire chapter 4 is entitled Sri Madhavendra Puri's Devotional Service. So he's a very important acharya in our Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, and there's much that can be said about him in a brief half an hour or so, and we'll do our best. And it's significant because just a few days out from Gaur Purnima 2023, and of course for some of our newer aspiring devotees of Krishna, this will be their first Gaur Purnima, so we're very excited for them. And it's as is normally done on such occasions, it's good to set the scene, so to speak. So I think over this morning, tomorrow morning, Sunday and Monday mornings, some special emphasis will be given towards Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his wonderful movement, the Sankirtan movement, which has been compared by one of our predecessor acharyas in a delightful example. Sanskrit language, music, poetry is very elegant, very sophisticated, very cultured. And it has been compared to a beautiful young bride, highly qualified, who blossoms when she is married to an equally highly qualified husband, who is none other than Sri Krishna Sankirtan. In all ages, but especially in this age, this wicked age of Kali. So that example is given there. And the example is given of Srila Jiva Goswami in this regard, who had a thorough education in Sanskrit and all of the 6 philosophical systems of India as a boy and a youth, but was instructed by none other than Lord Nityananda Prabhu to, before going and joining his illustrious uncles Rupa and Sanatan in Vrindavan, that he continue his studies. He was 20 years old. He'd lost his father when he was a boy, and then he lost his mother when he was 20 years old. But after being fortunately taken around the 9 islands of Navadvip by Nityananda Prabhu himself and shown all of the Leela Shtanas or pastime places of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his eternal associates, Nityananda Prabhu instructed Jiva as a young man, no, you first go to Benares and you continue your studies there for some years. And then you go and join your 2 great uncles and assist them in their writing of books about the science of Bhakti Yoga, which is, of course, what Jiva did. And as a result, he became known as the most famous scholar ever in the history of India, composing more than 400,000 beautiful verses. So, but today is Madhavendra Puri's disappearance anniversary. So we can, he is described as none other than a Shaktyavesh avatar of Lord Chaitanya. And he appeared in the early to middle part of the 14th century. We know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in 1486. Krishna Kirtan Prabhu and I were fortunate enough to be there in Mayapur in 1986, which was the 500th anniversary of Mahaprabhu's appearance. And we also did Navadvip Mandal Parikrama that year, which was very ecstatic. So he appeared at that time, a couple of generations ahead of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he is described as a Nitya Siddha, not a Sadhana Siddha. He is a perfected soul, eternally perfect. Some of us are aspiring Sadhana Siddhas. We hope that by the performance of our Sadhana Bhakti Yoga at some point in the future, however many lifetimes it may take, or if one is very serious, it will only take 1 lifetime, but to eventually become also, you could say, a sadhana nitya siddha. And there are also kripa siddhas, those perfected devotees who receive some special mercy from Krishna, gurus, and Vaishnavas. They also become perfect in devotional service. But Madhavendra Puri is an eternally perfect soul. And he travelled all over India for many years. Not much is known about his early life. His glories are generally described in his renounced life as a sannyasi, travelling all over the subcontinent to all different holy places. But he had a special fondness for Sri Vrindavan Dham and also for Orissa, Jagannath Puri and other holy places in Orissa. And his Samadhi tomb is there in Orissa at Ramuna, not far from the Shirakura Gopinath Temple. So it's said that he was such an ecstatic devotee of Krishna that he would faint regularly just upon seeing a dark, bluish black monsoon cloud. Such was his intense love for the Supreme Lord. And as this verse describes, two very famous deities of Krishna are mentioned here, Gopal and Gopinath. And as Prabhupada has described here, and this pastime is very wonderfully given by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and whilst preparing this class, I couldn't help but read this entire chapter twice. I was so ecstatic. Once was not enough. I had to read it twice. Of course, not wanting to forget any crucial facts. But the first famous pastime is, of course, when Madhavendra Puri was residing near Govardhan for a period of 2 years, actually. And on one occasion, it's said that he would never bother to beg for foodstuffs. Very exalted stage of sannyas, of Paramahamsa sannyas, is when the sannyasi doesn't even bother to beg. He just utterly depends on Krishna for his sustenance. If someone offers him something to eat, he'll honour that. If nothing comes, he's happy to fast. Madhavendra Puri was completely aloof from the pushings, which we all experience. The most famous are, of course, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Mada, Matsarya, and Moha. Lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and envy. But we can pack on top of that hunger and thirst and sleep. But Madhavendra Puri was completely aloof from all of those bodily pushings. But on one occasion, sitting underneath a tree in the vicinity of Govardhan, a most charming, attractive young cowherd boy came before him and asked questions of the saint. Who are you? What type of meditation are you doing? This is my village, and here no one fasts. So some ladies from the village noticed you sitting here. They came to the nearby well to draw water, and so they've instructed me to bring this milk. So here it is, a pot of fresh cow's milk. You take it at your leisure. I'll come back later and get the pot. But the boy never came back. But that night, Madhavendra Puri spent most of the night chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. But towards dawn, he did doze a little and he had a dream. And that same boy came to him in the dream and said, actually, I'm Gopal. And for many years, I've been residing in the bushes over there. Because what happened some years ago, this village was attacked by the Mohammedans, and the pujaris put me in the forest, but they never came back. So I've been living there for some time, and it's very cold sometimes. Other seasons it's very hot. It rains. There's monsoonal winds. Can you please come and rescue me? So Madhavendra Puri realised that the same boy who'd came before and given him the milk was in fact the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as soon as dawn broke, he, being a very influential person, sannyasi, he inspired all of the local people in the village, told them of his dream, and encouraged them, please bring axes, choppers, spades. We have to go and find the Lord Gopal. So this day was done. A path was made through the jungle, and sure enough, there was Lord Gopal. So he was brought out of the jungle. Of course, there's a fabulous description here of the Anakuta ceremonies, the reinstallation. As Prabhupada mentions, this deity was very ancient, installed 4,500 years before Madhavendra Puri by Krishna's great-grandson. So a wonderful festival which went for many days was performed. And all of the local people who were Brijbasis, devotees of Krishna, they very eagerly. One devotee who was a rich kshatriya, he built a structure on top of Govardhan Hill, and Lord Gopal was reinstalled in that structure. Some boundary walls were constructed by other persons. New pots and pans and cooking utensils were all made fresh by local artisans. The wealthy Vaishyas also contributed whatever foodstuffs. So for many days there was this fabulous festival. Great detail is given here in this wonderful chapter. Anakuta means literally a mountain of rice. And so in this way, Lord Gopal was reinstalled. But then, and much can be said more about that, but we will proceed to a short while later. Oh yes, and devotees came from Bengal also, and Two renunciants came from Bengal, and Madhavendra Puri engaged them in the worship of Lord Gopal. And many other people stepped forward, devotees stepped forward to take up the service. And things were going very, very nicely. And at one point, the deity appeared again to Madhavendra Puri and complained that even though he had been bathed at the reinstallation ceremony with mountains of gallons and gallons, many pots of water had been brought from nearby Govindakund to try and cool the deity down. Lord Gopal said, "I'm still hot. Can you please go, Madhavendra Puri, to Orissa, to Jagannath Puri, and bring back some sandalwood for me and rub it all over my body because I'm still really hot." So Madhavendra Puri agreed to do that on that direct instruction. So he set off on this epic journey. And it's worth noting that the devotion of Madhavendra Puri to walk all the way from Vrindavan to Jagannath Puri, very long way, but to get some sandalwood, because sandalwood is not so commonly found in North India. It's the Malaya hills on the western Ghat in South India is where sandalwood traditionally grows. So that's much closer to Jagannath Puri. So he had to go there to source that sandalwood. But he was prepared to do that. And in fact, of course, he did do that. Which leads us to the next fascinating pastime of Madhavendra Puri, was when on his epic journey to Puri, he stopped at another famous temple of Krishna, Gopinath Temple at Ramuna. And whilst he was there, he noticed that the pujaris were offering this special preparation to Lord Gopinath, kheer, or some places it's described as sweet rice, in other places it's described as condensed milk. But the kheer there is cooked in such a way that what starts out as rice and milk completely boils down to a type of condensed milk. So both are correct. So it's a very unique preparation. And the evening that Madhavendra Puri first arrived there, he noticed the pujaris offering this preparation. And he desired to taste it himself, not for his own sense pleasure, but so that he could, in future, learn how to make that same preparation, which is very famous, and offer it to his own beloved Gopal deity back in Vrindavan. But immediately he had that thought, he chastised his mind for thinking that way, and feeling somewhat remorseful, he left the temple and he went and spent the night in the local marketplace. And what happened was, later on that evening, after the deity had been put to rest, Lord Gopinath appeared in a dream to his pujari that my great devotee, Madhavendra Puri, is in the marketplace. He very much desires to taste my famous sweet rice preparation. I've actually stolen one pot. 12 pots of the preparation are offered every evening to Lord Gopinath to this day. I have, the deity said to his pujari, secretly hidden one behind the curtain. You please come here, retrieve this pot, and you take it and give it to my great devotee Madhavendra Puri. So the pujari woke up after this startling dream, thought it wise to take a bath, which he did, and then went into the deity chamber, and sure enough, there behind the curtain was one pot of sweet rice. So he took that, went to the marketplace and was calling out in the middle of the night, Madhavendra Puri, Madhavendra Puri, you are greatly fortunate. Please, Lord Gopinath has stolen one pot of sweet rice. So Madhavendra Puri was startled out of his slumber and very humbly accepted the pot of sweet rice from the pujari. So very famous pastime. And then He continued on his way to Puri, not far away, and there he approached all of the influential persons in the Jagannath Temple and told them about the deity in Gopal, requesting him to come and bring a substantial quantity of sandalwood to smear over Lord Gopal's body in Vrindavan. So again, being a very influential and famous devotee, actually, Madhavendra Puri, of his time, all of the administrators there saw to it that his desire was fulfilled. He obtained the 82 pounds in that measurement of sandalwood, and also about 8 ounces of camphor, which is also very cooling. And not only that, but he was given by the king of Puri one brahmana and one servant to carry the load of sandalwood. He was also given the necessary documentation so that he passed through all of the tax collectors without having to pay any taxes, and also the documents to show that this was an authorized journey and transaction, so that many of the Mohammedans ruling those different territories of India would not try to plunder him or think that he had in fact stolen this sandalwood. So he headed back north. You can just imagine what intense devotion he had to walk all that way and then be prepared to walk all the way back to Vrindavan. It was wonderful. That's intense devotional service. But he got only as far as Ramuna, which is a little north of Jagannath Puri, and again, he has the unique distinction of having Krishna appear to him, as we may have said, in not less than 3 times in dreams. So again, his deity in Vrindavan, Lord Gopal, appeared to Madhavendra Puri and said, Gopinath and I are non-different. You can smear the sandalwood pulp all over Shirakura Gopinath's body, and that will be the same as smearing it over my body. And in that way, you will save yourself the trouble of walking all the way back here to Vrindavan. And I'm very happy with this arrangement. So that's exactly what he did. And he engaged a number of persons there in the temple precinct, and for many days, because 82 pounds of sandalwood is a lot of grinding of sandalwood, which is actually quite hard. Any of us who have ever ground up sandalwood know it's a very hard chore. But sometimes we see there are special Chandan festivals are there in the major temples of India, all over India. During the peak of the hot season, the deities covered in sandalwood to keep them nice and cool. So it takes a lot of labour. So, so these are significant pastimes, and we want to leave a little time at the end there. I have verse of the day in regard to Madhavendra Puri. So we'll mention perhaps a couple of other famous pastimes, and that was Madhavendra Puri's meeting up with Lord Nityananda on the western side of India, and the two of them spending many days in one another's association. Madhavendra Puri being senior to Lord Nityananda worshipped him as one of his gurus. Madhavendra Puri said to some of his disciples travelling with him at that time that I have never met anyone with the love of this personality, Lord Nityananda. So they spent many days in one another's company, relishing Sankirtan. Madhavendra Puri had many famous disciples, Advaita Acharya, Ishwara Puri, who served as Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master, Pundarik Vijayanidhi, and one infamous personality, Ramchandra Puri, who, though a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, was heavily tinged with Mayavad philosophy, was not a pure Vaishnava. And at the end of Madhavendra Puri's life, he was being served very nicely by his dear Ishwara Puri, spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. But Madhavendra Puri and others came to farewell their spiritual master, but was very offensive and was ultimately sent away by Madhavendra Puri because Ramchandra Puri saw that Madhavendra Puri was weeping at the end of his life. And he was quoting a very famous verse, which we're going to read a little bit later. Basically, sort of remonstrating, Ram, is that a word? Remonstrating? Chastising himself for saying, I have not managed to achieve shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord of Mathura. So Ramchandra Puri attempted to instruct his own spiritual master. What is this? You should just be meditating on Brahman. This hankering and lamentation is not good at the end of life. So, not understanding the deep emotional feelings of his own spiritual master, Ramchandra Puri was sent away by Madhavendra Puri. Get out of here, you rascal. So, there are a couple of other famous personalities, or infamous personalities, of course. It's said that when on his travels he came to Navadvip and met Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya immediately recognized him as the topmost personality, even though Advaita Acharya himself. But Advaita Acharya took initiation from Madhavendra Puri, as did the great Pundarik Vijayanidhi. So many wonderful personalities counted amongst his disciples. So we were very much encouraged on Monday morning. We heard a wonderful, Yadunath Prabhu gave a wonderful class, Yadunandan Prabhu, encouraging all of us to memorize verses from different shastras. It's very important in bhakti. It strengthens the mind. And we're allowed to have favorites in bhakti. Favorite verses. Krishna is known as the pinnacle. He who is glorified in the choicest, by the choicest poetry, the choicest of all verses. And so there are many, many wonderful verses throughout Vedic literature glorifying Krishna and his devotees. And towards the end of this chapter, we come across one which is very famous in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It is actually described as, just to build a little bit of a suspense here, as the Rasa Kavya, the best verse in the entire treasury of rasa poetry. So if you're all ready for this, and I'm not going to, actually, I have it here, not just on Sri Phone, but okay, and I can see Krishna Kirtan being a great nectar hunter. All right, here it is, everyone. Here is text 197 of the Madhya-lila chapter 4, very famous verse. And 196 is Madhavendra Puri recited this verse again and again at the end of his material existence. Thus uttering this verse, he attained the ultimate goal of life. So I'm just going to read the English translation. O my Lord, O most merciful Master, O Master of Mathura, when shall I see you again? Because of my not seeing you, my agitated heart has become unsteady. O most beloved one, what shall I do now? And it's said that this verse was originally spoken by none other than Srimati Radharani. And it's also said elsewhere in our Gaudiya literature that only certain persons, Srimati Radharani, Lord Chaitanya and Madhavendra Puri, are the only three persons who know the deep import of this verse. There is no fourth person. So that is the supreme glorious position of Sripad Madhavendra Puri's devotional service, as this chapter is entitled. And he is very famous because he is the personality. He's described as the sprouted seed of the tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was the first to introduce the concept of Madhya Rasa into the Madhva Sampradaya, which wasn't there so much before. Krishna was worshipped by Madhvaracharya, and anyone who's been to the Udupi temple on the southwestern coast of India, Krishna is worshipped there, Udupi Krishna, but he's a young boy, I think holding a sweet, a laddu in one hand, maybe a stick for herding cows in the other, like that. But this concept of Madhya Rasa, conjugal love, was not there so much. Madhavendra Puri introduced it. And from him to Ishwara Puri to Lord Chaitanya, that has become the prevailing method of worship of Krishna in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. There's much more. And Prabhupada gives after that famous verse. If you have time today, you might want to go and read. It's a very long purport, but wonderful purport, elaborating on that. But I might stop here, everyone, just see if anyone has a question, comment, correction. Krishna, Krishna. If not, we can adjourn. That's all good. All right. You don't need to. It's optional. That's okay. I can repeat if you'd like to make a comment. Krishna Kirtan.
I thought maybe if you have time, you can just briefly elaborate on the contrast of the service that Srila Madhavendra Puri was leaving his body between Madhavendra Puri, which you mentioned, and Ishwara Puri, and the subsequent results.
Well, the subsequent result was that he was banished by his own guru, which is as a result of his very offensive mentality. And also, later on, you could say, when, of course, Ramchandra Puri came to Jagannath Puri, when Mahaprabhu was residing there, he was known as a critical person, a fault finder. So his appearance in Jagannath Puri wasn't particularly welcomed by the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And because he was senior to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was in fact a disciple, a godbrother. He was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, and he was a godbrother of Lord Chaitanya's Guru Maharaj, Ishwara Puri. So he was more senior. So Lord Chaitanya was very much, you could say, a stickler, I think an old English word, for observing the proper etiquette amongst Vaishnavas. Who's more senior, who's not so senior like that. So he offered all respects to Ramchandra Puri. But then immediately within a short time, Ramchandra Puri began to find faults even with Lord Chaitanya. He noticed on one visit to Lord Chaitanya's room, the famous Gambhira, that there were ants crawling around on the floor. And he became very offensive and said, just see. Secretly, this sannyasi is enjoying sweets at night time. Otherwise, why would there be so many ants crawling hither and thither? So the devotee was breaking the hearts of Mahaprabhu's followers. Mahaprabhu was not secretly enjoying sweets at night time. He was experiencing intense feelings of separation from Krishna during the night. So anyway, Lord Chaitanya took this so-called instruction from his senior god uncle, Ramchandra Puri, very seriously, and he immediately ordered Govinda, his servant, henceforward I will reduce my eating by half, possibly even 3/4. Seriously. So, but then somehow or other this got to the ears of Ramchandra Puri, who came back after some days and said to Mahaprabhu, I hear you have reduced your eating. Well, this is not good either. A sannyasi shouldn't overeat, but shouldn't undereat either. So in this way, he again attempted to instruct Lord Chaitanya. But after some time, thankfully to the devotees of Mahaprabhu in Puri, Ramchandra Puri moved on, and Mahaprabhu went back to eating his normal amount of prasad, much to the happiness of the devotees. That's something. Hope that's all right. All right, we're getting close to bell ringing time, everyone. We better stop here. Have a wonderful, Gaur Purnima Tuesday. Hari Bol. Very ecstatic. All right, Srila Madhavendra Puri Goswami Maharaj, Disappearance Anniversary, Tirubhav Mahotsava ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Gaur Purnima ki, Gaura Premanandi. One thing I forgot, very important. I didn't mention that he's a Kalpavriksha tree in Goloka Vrindavan. Did I?
No, I was going to say.
Yeah. Sorry, I got all the other.
But there's a question on that.
Yeah, there is, but that's okay.
No.
All right, well, we'll leave that for.
It's esoteric, so
It's very esoteric, yeah. I was prepared for it, but can I just say in that regard, Ananda Chinmoy Rasa, which means everything in Goloka Vrindavan is, and I was trying to think of the word, I don't want to use made of, comprised of eternally blissful spiritual taste. Not the right word, but you get where I'm. Anyway, he is a wish-fulfilling desire tree in Goloka Vrindavan who supplies the divine couple, Radha and Krishna, whatever fruits that they desire and their liberated souls. So it's appropriate that when he appeared in this world, he is the sprouted seed of the tree of Prema Bhakti, as brought to fructification by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's all I can say about that. That's who he is. Yeah. You really want to open up something here? Okay. All right. Okay. Is that okay? All right. Hare Krishna.